Well, Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong support of this legislation, H.R. 3654. It's entitled the Combat Terrorist Use of Social Media Act of 2015, and I want to recognize the leadership of Judge Ted Poe, a member of this body on this critical issue. The threat posed by Islamist terrorists have evolved, but the administration's policies have not evolved. If we're going to prevent additional attacks, then the President must lay out a broad, overarching strategy needed to win, and that strategy must include a plan to counter the terrorist use of social media. Terrorists are skillfully exploiting social media to recruit supporters, to radicalize, to raise money, to spread fear. And 2 weeks ago in San Bernardino, California, 14 innocent people were killed and 21 people were injured by radical Islamist terrorists. We know these extremists, husband and wife, used social media, one of them making a pledge on Facebook in support of ISIS. This pledge was identified by Facebook and taken down immediately. Yesterday, it was revealed that the U.S. Department of Homeland Security actually prohibited immigration officials from reviewing the social media postings of all foreign citizens applying for U.S. visas, and only intermittently began looking at posts from some visa applicants. So imagine a situation where you have people who are going to Syria, who are posting on social media, and you've got a blanket prohibition on reviewing those social media postings. That was the state of the situation as we're trying to defend the homeland. Frankly, the failure of this administration to incorporate a review of social media posts into the visa approval process is absurd. Ignoring the online statements of terrorists trying to enter the United States puts our country at risk. This must be fixed. And this bill, frankly, is timely. It's important. It forces the administration to put forward a strategy to combat terrorist use of this social media. In 2011, the President promised to create that strategy, but never delivered anything. We are simply not going to defeat ISIS or other terrorist groups without combating their social media recruiting. Following a bipartisan letter from Representatives Poe and Mr. Engel and Mr. Sherman and myself last March, Twitter strengthened their policies to assert that statements threatening or promoting terrorism were against Twitter's terms of service, and most of the other social media companies have similar user guidelines that prohibit threats of violence and use of their platforms by terrorists. We need a strategy that clearly articulates our country's goals, the responsibilities of each federal agency, what role each one will play, a vision of how our government is going to work with the private sector, a vision of how we're going to pull civil society into this effort. Without a strategy, the administration's effort to combat terrorist use of social media appear to be disconnected. They appear to be ineffective. And then, of course, after we have that strategy, we are going to need action. It's ironic that extremist groups have turned to Twitter, to Facebook, to YouTube to encourage attacks on a free society, when these companies would not have been created without a free society, one which upholds free speech, free thought, encourages entrepreneurship. So, Mr. Speaker, it is imperative that the administration lay out how we will contend with these terrorists hijacking the social network for their twisted purposes. We truly have basically a caliphate today on the Internet, a virtual caliphate, if you will, on the Internet. The bill by Judge Ted Poe is intended to force a strategy to solve this problem, and I reserve the balance of my